Hey guys, welcome back to Finance for Firefighters. Today we're going to talk about a tool that you use for finance. This tool, when used wrong, can devastate your life financially, but when used right, it can actually work for you. And that tool is credit cards. So today we're going to talk about credit cards. Credit cards are a tool, not a crutch. Credit cards aren't free money. A lot of people look at them and their first thought is like, oh, I have this money to spend. It's free money. It's not free money. If it's used in the right hands, it can be a powerful tool, just like a New York hook. The right hands, powerful tool, you can get a lot of work done with that. But in the wrong hands, you're going to bumble through things, you're going to destroy things, you're going to make things worse off than they were. So we're going to talk today about how to use that tool effectively. When people look at problems with credit cards, it's not the tool itself, it's how it's used or misused. One way that credit cards can wreck your finances is if you carry a balance. If you have a credit card, standard rates right now are about between 15 to 20%. If you're carrying a balance on that, we'll dive into an example and we'll show you exactly how much that's going to be handcuffing you moving forward with your finances.
So let's take a look at this credit card example of carrying a balance on your credit card and what this will actually do to you over the long term. So if you have a balance of $5,000 on your card and you have a roughly 17% APR on it, minimum payments of 2%, which is pretty standard of the balance, ends up being about $100 a month. And this will take you almost 7.5 years to pay this off, and it costs you an additional $3,800 in interest. So the $5,000 plus the additional $3,800 in interest of carrying a balance over a 7-year period. So if we look at that over the long term, if instead of doing this, racking it up, paying it off, things like that, if you were able to just invest $100 a month over your career at a 7% rate of return, you'd have an over $110,000 in 30 years. So just the differences in having the discipline to pay off your credit card versus carrying a balance and making minimum payments. If you just invested that amount of money you were spending, you'd have a pretty good chunk of money at the end of a 30-year career.
Now we'll run an example of how carrying just a $5,000 balance over the course of a year at 20% rate will actually cost you about $1,000 in interest over the 1-year period of carrying that balance.
Okay, now let's look at this credit card example of just carrying a normal balance of $5,000 on that card, same 17% APR. Simple estimate of this every year is if you have $5,000 on it times the 0.1699, it ends up being about $850 a year that you're just paying in interest. This assumes you're not doing extra payments or additional charges for daily compounding. But with minimum payments of that normal 2%, of $100 a month, approximately, it'd take you about 7.5 years to pay this off, and you'd add up an additional $3,800 in interest on top of it. So by racking up a purchase of something for $5,000 and then paying it off slowly with minimum payments, that $5,000 you spent actually costs you almost twice that. It costs you about $9,000 roughly in total cost of whatever that item was. So this just illustrates the value of having the money to pay it off immediately, right? So save your money, pay with cash. Don't rely on the credit card to make big purchases. If you can't afford them at the time, wait till you can afford them and then make the purchases.
The advantage of credit cards is that there's revolving credit. We've talked about this in some other previous episodes, but revolving credit means that you can rack credit up, you can pay it down, rack it up, pay it down. That's really effective for people who pay it off every single time. But if you're a person who doesn't pay it off every time and you're counting on further future money, or you think that future overtime or something else is going to be there in the future to pay it off, that can get into a really dangerous cycle. And if you carry a balance in the credit card debt, you can end up actually owing quite a bit more and paying quite a bit more in interest over the long term of the loan instead of just having it off and paying it off every single either 2 weeks or every single month when the bill is due. Now let's talk about how to use credit cards the right way. So the first and foremost thing is you should never carry a balance on your credit card. When you rack it up there, you should be able to pay it off right away. So by never carrying a balance, there's a few different ways we can do this. One of the ways is you set your credit cards up to have an automatic payment every single month or every single 2 weeks. And then that way it's going to pay your balance off automatically. Another good rule is to only charge on your credit card what you have in cash at that time to pay off. That way you're guaranteed able to pay it off. Use credit cards for planned expenses, gas, groceries, things that you're constantly paying for every month that you budget for every month. And then by doing that, you're able to earn credit by building credit or points depending on the type of credit card that you have. Advantages of having credit cards and reasons for having credit cards is that it builds your credit. And that is a huge thing for us when we're trying to use credit to purchase other things. So things that it's helpful for is when you're getting your first mortgage, if you're doing something for business loans, or if you need other loans in the future that you're going to have lower rates on that if you have a established credit history of borrowing money and paying it back. It makes you more reliable for the credit card companies and anyone who's loaning you money. So they're going to give you a lower rate on future loans that you have, and especially big purchases. So if you're regularly charging up a couple $1,000s every month or every couple months on your credit card, that's not really a ton of money in the grand scheme of things, versus when you're getting something like a mortgage or a business loan, you're going to have much larger amounts of money you're going to be loaning. They're going to be loaning you, and they're going to be, because it's a lot more money, they're going to be a lot more concerned about guaranteeing that they get that money paid back. Credit cards also give you purchase protection, fraud protection, other benefits that they give you. Those are other positives that you get from earning credit and having a reliable credit history. I have a couple of buddies who are firefighters who have Southwest travel cards. There's a Chase travel card. Those two folks in particular, they use those credit cards regularly. They pay them off regularly, and they're able to basically travel with all of their flight costs completely covered. They do, they're one of my, some of my folks that travel regularly. They're constantly, going off to Hawaii, or they're going off to Europe or other things like that. And they're able to cover those trips because they have all of those points earned up on their credit cards on those travel cards. Now let's take a look at some examples of different credit cards and benefits that they have. All the credit cards will help establish and build credit history and raise your credit score and allow you to get lower rates on things that you loan in the future. But each card has its own particular benefits. So let's take a look at some examples now at some of those different cards.
Okay, let's take a look at some credit card examples of different cards you have for benefits that they offer. So these are some of the top 5 credit cards that I've searched, just normal Google search, finding out the different things that each one will have and then different benefits. So the Citi Double Cash has a flat rate cash back. So 2% on all purchases, 1% when you buy something, and 1% when you pay something. Sign up bonus of a couple $100, and then it's best for just simple all-purpose cash back. So if you're using a credit card to pay your normal bills, like your gas and groceries of money that you normally have, and you're just doing it on your card and paying it back off every 2 weeks or every month, you're going to have cash stack up on something. So my wife and I have a credit card that we use similar to this, and then all the extra cash back we get on it, we end up using that for our own guilty pleasures, right? So if I'll buy tools with it, or she'll take a trip with her friends or whatever on the cash back. Discover Cashback's number 2. That's a rotating cash back type of account. And on this one, it's a 5% on quarterly categories, up to about $1,500, 1% on everything else. So just a little different on this, but it offers more, a higher percentage on certain things. Same thing, cashback match, all rewards after a year, and then it's good for maximizing different seasonal spending things, right? Because it rotates on different categories that you have. Capital One Saver One, lifestyle cashback. So this one is if you're somebody who dines out a lot, or entertainment, groceries, streaming, things like that. It's more focused on different things that maybe you do more than other folks do. So you may have better benefits on this. And then same thing, you'll get extra things back for those frequent things you do if you eat out a lot or whatever, for entertainment or for going out to different restaurants and things like that. Wells Fargo Autograph is more for travel points. 3 times on travel is a rewards, dining, gas, streaming, transit stuff, phone plans, things like that. Things that you'd utilize a lot when you're traveling. Different sign-up bonuses on that, obviously. And then this is good for just broad lifestyle stuff or travel expenses, right? And then the Chase Freedom Unlimited, the last one is a cash and travel. It's a blend of rewards. So you get 5% back on Chase travel and 3% on dining, drugstores, 1.5% on everything else. And then sign-up bonus, extra 1.5% on all spending. So general spending and bonus opportunities, right? So these are just some that I found in a quick search that have different benefits for these, right? There are tons of different ones, right? They have, Southwest has one, there's different Chase Sapphire, there's different ones that have different types of things. So depending on the thing you find, just use a Google search for finding out exactly what you want. If you're somebody who travels a lot, or you eat out at restaurants a lot, or you just want the cash back, there are different things that, different credit cards that have different benefits for each one of those things.
Here's a couple of red flags for identifying if you're using credit cards the wrong way. So one of them is you're always carrying a balance. That's not a good thing, because if you're carrying a balance, it means you're paying interest. Another one is if you're regularly using that card to purchase things that you can't afford to pay for right now with cash. Don't do that. If you're using a credit card to pay off another credit card, that's also a red flag. Don't do that. Be able to afford the amount you're paying on ahead of time. Don't rely on a credit card to pay another credit card off. All you're doing is kicking the can down the road. Another red flag is if you're hiding balances of some of those credit cards from your spouse, you're obviously guilty about something and you're not able to effectively pay that off. So if you're hiding it from them, or if they're hiding it from you, it's definitely a good point to really reflect on what you're doing. If that is the case, then it's very likely that you or they are putting too much money on that and you don't have the ability to pay it off. If that's the case, dial back some of your expenses or bring up some of your income to be able to cover it. Don't use the credit card as if you anticipating you're going to have the money in the future. Have that money ahead of time, or have the paycheck coming in to be able to pay for that ahead of time. So you're not kicking the can down the road and purchasing things you really can't afford and living way outside your means. Think of credit card use like operating air on a fire, right? You go into a building, you're going to have a certain amount of time that you're going to be able to operate on there, right? Now, working conditions inside, amount of effort you're going through, your physical fitness, the task you're assigned, all those things are going to have an effect on what's the amount of air consumption you're going to have. Just like on a credit card, if your interest rate's higher or you are over leveraging yourself by using those credit cards, think of a credit card as air consumption. If you are able to effectively go in there and you're at your halfway point, you're going to want to come back before that bell starts ringing. That way you're going to be able to effectively finish your task and exit out of the building. Think of credit card use the same way. Don't overextend yourself on something that you're not going to be able to afford or pay back when the bill is due. We've talked about this in the past, but I'd say retro checks and overtime especially are some things you should be very conscious about when making any kind of purchase, but especially using a credit card. Don't use large credit cards and live outside your means with the anticipation of a large overtime check or a large retro check coming. If you budget effectively and you're able to say, hey, can I afford to pay for this now with cash, or in my normal finances, can I pay for this with cash? That's when credit cards should be used. It shouldn't be, oh, I'm going to buy it now so that I can cash it out when this check comes. Things change. Maybe the taxes are more on that than you think there are. Maybe the overtime's not going to be there when you count on it. Maybe the retro check is different than what you think it is. Because of these reasons, you want to make sure that you're definitely using it more like I'm going to pay with cash, not I have this money that's not really there. It's kind of play money. A couple challenges for you guys. I'd say one thing is check your balances now. If you're regularly carrying a balance, see if you can start working on some stuff to rewire that, right? Try a 30-day challenge of saying, hey, if I can't effectively pay for it with cash, I'm not going to buy it. So use your credit card more like a debit card, right? There's a certain amount in the bank. If you scan that thing, it's not gonna approve, right? So treat it that way to see if you can effectively rewire some stuff if you are regularly carrying a balance. I encourage you folks to set up automatic payments to make sure that you never miss a payment. You can have multiple years or multiple months, a long period of time of really good credit history, but a couple times of missing a payment or having a late payment will undo everything that you've done. It's like a reputation, right? You can do 99 good things, but one or two bad things that you do is going to be what's remembered, right? It's not going to be all the 99 positive things that you've done. So credit history works exactly the same way. All right, guys, in conclusion, just reinforce this. Credit cards aren't good. They're not bad. They're neutral. They're a tool. So it's our job to learn how to effectively use that tool. If you don't know how to use the tool and you're swinging it around, or you're using a circ saw and you're waving all over the place because you don't have good body mechanics, you're going to be a danger to yourself and you're going to be a danger to others, okay? Credit cards are the exact same thing. If you know how to use them well, it'll help you, right? But if you don't use them effectively, it's going to hurt you and those around you. Thanks for joining me on Finance for Firefighters. Same as always, thumbs up if you like it, comments below. Hope you guys have a good shift. I'll see you on the next one.